the ICMS Open Day. Welcome to the Great Hall. It is 1 p.m. here. This is our final session of the day. We have saved the best till last. We have with us 4 amazing guests. I know they all look like students, but they're not. They've actually graduated. So this is our alumni session, and we're here to hear their stories. They're going to give some advice to everyone, explain what they're doing, and I think most importantly, you can hear from our product, our alumni, because they're the people that you want to hear from. They're the people that have studied here, and all of them here have done a fantastic job. So my name is Todd Palioka. I look after student recruitment at ICMS. I'm very happy to do this session because this is going to be the best one, and I've already spoken to these guys. They're super interesting, and we're going to have a good time. So I'm going to start off with it's kind of like a bit of speed dating to start, guys. So we just want to get to know you a bit better and find out who you are. So we're going to go from my right to left. So Callum, we're going to start with you. I want to know, well, I've given away your name, but I want to know the year you graduated from ICMS. I want to know what you're doing in your current profession, and just tell us a little bit about what you studied here at ICMS.
Cool, so I finished up in 2021, right after COVID, that little season we had, so everything was online. And my current profession, I am a producer and have my own media agency, so almost like a modern day advertisement company, I call it, doing a lot of social content. And what was the last one, Toddy?
You studied doing business, right?
Yeah, and it was business management was my final degree in the end. So I actually started off doing property and got my credits and put that across to business when I realized kind of what I wanted to do with my own business possibly one day. So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
And one final speed dating question, because I'm just trying to work out if we're a match, Callum. I need to know, whereabouts did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Oh, I was born in Scotland, so my accent's a bit funny. But I ended up, moving here when I was 10, but now I'm based in Sydney, been here for about 14 years now, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That does make sense, because we are confused about your accent, so good. Alana, over to you.
Alright, so as Todd just introduced me, my name's Alana, and I graduated this year actually, so March 2023. I'm working as an intermediate accountant at a firm called Peer Wealth, so we're just on the wharf in Manly. And I've been working as an accountant now for about 2.5, 3 years.
Awesome. And you guys might not have seen it, but Alana's entrance today was unbelievable. She just catwalked in. It was amazing. So Alana, welcome. Thank you. Chris, the second microphone. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hi guys. As Todd mentioned, my name is Chris. I, during my tenure at ICMS, studied a Bachelor of Event Management. I graduated in 2021 and happy to share I'm currently an event manager for a company called Helping Hand Group, providing fundraising and auctioning services to companies in the non-for-profit industry and sporting leagues to provide them fundraising solutions for their non-for-profit events and fundraising events.
It's me. Hi, my name is Michaela. I graduated from ICMS studying marketing in 2022, so November last year. I currently work as a senior client implementation executive at Nova Entertainment, like the radio station.
Wow, that's a very important title.
It's a really long title.
It's a very cool title. And we know Michaela because Michaela used to work for ICMS and then she left us. So we've been getting some counselling about this process, but we're not over it yet, but it's awesome. Thank you for joining us. I've noticed a kind of key theme here, guys, which is something we didn't plan. It was COVID. So it seems like, and all the people that are listening to this and in the audience and also would have experienced this whether in high school or through your studies. So Callum, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like to study here during COVID and I guess start your whole process, because it's very different to what a lot of people would have experienced?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I moved, as soon as I got the news that we weren't going back to campus, I went straight up to Byron Bay and actually did all my online studies from up there. But at the same token, I think you just have to be incredibly active within small groups if you got given them. So say if you had a group assignment and whatnot, we had a couple classes where you wouldn't have met anyone outside of I guess, those moments, but you have to kind of bite a bullet in a sense and be like, nah, we're gonna get this project done. And very quickly, I think you learn to just grow up when you're given your own time to actually get stuff done online rather than coming into a classroom setting. So yeah, I think I was surfing till like 9:20 in the morning and then jumping online at 9:30.
Wow, so this is someone who used COVID as a significant advantage. So that sounds
It
good.
was epic.
Yeah. Chris, you're around the same time, right? And for you, I guess, did you know who Callum was? Because you would have did you know each other online? How did it all work? Did you get to meet people through this time at ICMS?
Well, funnily enough, Callum's probably one of the few people who are actually here today who was on the same O week as I was. We actually started at the exact same time, and we
Cool.
actually shared quite similar friendship networks. And I guess one of the biggest things with ICMS being such a smaller uni, you just know people based off their faces. It's not like, I guess, bigger intakes that the bigger universities offer, where you don't really know who you're actually who you're meeting. But given that it's just so much smaller at ICMS, you just know everyone's faces. So yep, knew Callum then, still know Callum now.
Yeah, there you go. So either of the girls, do you want to explain, did you start post-COVID? How did your kind of run-up go?
So I actually started in 2021. So I graduated high school in 2020, doing the COVID year there. So I was kind of adjusted to that online learning platform, and then came to ICMS where it was half-half, so you could say. So they had half online, half on campus. So I initially did start off online and did my whole degree online. So I didn't actually attend a class face-to-face, although when I had my exams, I did come to campus and sit them.
Wow, the new world. We know you were around. Yeah.
I think I got a little bit lucky. I started in 2020, which meant I got the first term on campus, which was nice. But I'm from the Central Coast, so I did the rest of the first year from the Central Coast. Was lucky to get my placement at ICMS, so I moved here 2021, lived on campus, and did some of my classes on campus when I could. Obviously, we sort of had that time where it was, you can be on campus, you can't. COVID kind of just had a bit of a mind of its own.
Yep.
And then the last year I did all completely online because I was working full time.
Wow.
So, yeah, bit of a mix.
And it's really interesting for us staff working at ICMS, because before COVID we didn't really even venture in the online world. So to see how these guys have had a completely different experience, but still very well-rounded humans for the most part, I believe, I can tell, and doing incredibly well, shows how we've been able to adapt, and it's really cool hearing those stories. I want to run back to some actual reflections of ICMS and experience that you have, obviously ones that you can tell on camera. But Callum, maybe can you start and tell us a little bit about things that you enjoyed, things maybe you did, and fond memories, things that stand out for you from your experience at ICMS?
Yeah, you mentioned this list before, but I think at ICMS had a unique perspective where academically I was pretty driven for sure to get to classes, get everything done, but man, I just wanted to get involved because I came from out west, and being at the beach in this campus, I think I joined the SRC, did the mentors program, got a couple kind of scholarships in the end somehow, but my aim was just to kind of get involved as much as I could, and did a bunch of the stuff with Chris actually for 0 weeks and whatnot. But that was, yeah, I had a really unique experience where I think it was before COVID and whatnot, but I think, I don't know the makeup now, but my thing with this uni compared to other mates that went to other unis, we might not say the names.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Other
you
unis.
can say it though.
Yeah, they just went and they were just another number. So I kind of, was super stoked how I had relationships with all the staff and got away with some stuff because of that. So yeah.
Alana, would you like to elaborate on your experience here? And obviously a little bit different being online, yeah?
Yeah, so my experience was probably completely different with being online. So it was a little bit harder to get involved with everything happening on campus, but at the same time, with all the COVID restrictions and the lockdowns that kept coming back, there wasn't really a lot going on. So my on-campus more so experiences started last year in 2022. So I was a scholarship recipient in 2021 when I started, but then I went on and made the Dean's List twice. throughout last year. So that was where like the networking events came in with like the ICMS work integrated learning partners, and then
Yeah.
I got to branch out and meet people through there, which was really good.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I guess outside of the on-campus experience that Callum mentioned, there's a lot of things that you can get involved in, whether it's clubs, SRC. I don't know if you guys have gone over to the other side of campus, but there is a uni bar, and I do promise it gets used quite well. But outside of that, I guess one of the unique experiences that I found with the ICMS is just the opportunity to grow and I guess really build up your professional development as well. Through ICMS, I got a great opportunity to do 2 internships simultaneously, one with BT Financial Group, formerly part of Westpac Group, and Travel Zoo. And through those experiences, I got a really good head start on building up my network at such a young age of 19. And yeah, really kind of building up my career in those early stages, while at the same time getting to enjoy everything about the on-campus lifestyle. But even with that said, with COVID, it still very much continued on through, and I guess the passion that the lecturers have to make sure their students succeed is one of the, I guess, really driving factors to, I think, everyone's success, especially during that period of Corona.
So I think I had a bit of an odd experience. It's not very common that you live, work, and study at the exact same place. So a lot of my memories are quite fun, but are so the friends that I've sort of made from, I guess, working and then also living on campus is definitely different. I think very fortunate, which is good.
Yeah. Well, we all remember you, so you did a good job. Let's kind of move from the study side, and now you're in your professional career. So can we talk a little bit about the transition? So firstly, from maybe your internship into your professional work, and now what you're doing, and elaborate a little bit on that. Anyone can go first.
I can go first.
Yeah.
I think it's a tricky transition. I think at ICMS obviously is focused around sort of having that transition from studying to being in the corporate world, but it's not necessarily easy. I think I chose quite a tricky route of deciding to study full-time and work full-time at the exact same time. So whilst, I had the skills from my internship, which was in the marketing team at ICMS, I already had that sort of relationship building that I could use. So that was good, but I think sort of adjusting to, you actually have to go to work 9 to 5. You can't just work or pretend to work online, you actually have to go. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is sort of just making sure I was committing and I was showing up, keeping that sort of professional side, which, was fortunate to learn from uni, but it's definitely tricky.
I think also just a reflection on how well you've done since you've started working at Nova. Now they're a scholarship partner. The big boss was just here. So he's still here?
He's not here, he's left.
Oh, he's left.
Which is good.
Well, he can watch this. She's doing a good job. But that whole transition from the Will work and your internship to working in the marketing to Nova, and now Nova investing in ICMS, is a really good reflection on you. So good job. Callum, you have a very different experience. You're kind of, I guess Callum's, if I could ever kind of pigeonhole the cool entrepreneur, it's this guy here. So tell us about how you've gone from, an ICMS student to your own business, really.
I think entrepreneur is an overstatement.
Come on.
Figuring it out. But super unconventional journey through uni. I mean, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I think these open days, hopefully, I think you guys should just drill into your brain. What you think you're going to do is going to be the complete opposite to what you actually end up doing. I started off in property, was on a scholarship, and the management stuff, worked at the council. I was like, this is not for me. I boldly said to these guys, I don't want this as part of my career life. And it might be for someone out there, but for me, I was like, no. So they were very accommodating, getting me more towards business and showed me some really good mentors in that space. But having transitioned, I think the question was outside after uni, it's been super hard. And you've got to realize very quickly, one, I think where you want to be, but then two, where your values lie and how you want to actually problem solve. I found that business is just a game of problem solving. And you can apply that in kind of any direction from accounting to Nova. So I think, just constantly learning and evolving, but doing it in my own business within media has been, it's been hard. It's a lot of kind of TikTok, Instagram focus at the moment. And as you're scrolling, you see the sponsored ads. that's kind of where I focus on, and getting your engagement. So keep watching, so I get a job. And but yeah, I think it's something that I enjoy taking the risk. We're all in our 20s. I think I'm a massive advocate for go for your dreams. This isn't going to be some hype up chat, but heck, bloody go for it.
Yeah, no, I hear. Alana, where did you do your internship, and where are you working now? Because I think there's a lot of kind of synergy, right, with where people do their will placement and then where they end up for a graduate role.
Yeah, so I'm not currently in the job where I did my will internship. Although in saying that, I got an exemption from my will internship because I was studying full-time whilst working full-time.
Yep.
So because with the flexibility of studying online, I got to go home to my hometown, Foster. So I was living at home, studying online and working full-time all at the same time. And I knew someone, like a firm in Foster, who was looking for like a junior accountant. So I put my name out there. I wasn't 100% sure on actually what I wanted to do. And I just thought I might as well give this a go because who knows where it may take me. So I applied for the job, got the job the next day, and then I worked there for 18 months. And that led me to being headhunted by one of the partners at my firm that I'm currently at now.
Amazing. And can you tell us how old you are, just so it makes us all depressed?
I'm 20.
Okay, great, thank you. That's very impressive. At 20, I was in my second year at uni. Chris, what about you? And I think you've probably had a little bit more of a logical progression. You're kind of doing what you studied, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a bit of, I guess, a funny roadmap from when I started studying to where I am now. When I initially started at ICMS, I kind of went back and forth into starting my career path. I knew I was studying event management, but what to do in event management was such a different answer. Initially, believe it or not, I actually wanted to go into wedding planning. That soon evaporated. And then, funnily enough, kind of pivoted over to wanting to become becoming a private conference organiser, which I got to experience at BT, which was really insightful. And then I guess it kind of, as COVID happened, obviously the events industry kind of went down from 100 to 0 very fast. So for a while there, I pivoted more on, I guess, my sales background, but I'm happy to share that I now have looped back around to event management and doing exactly what I wanted to do, working in the non-for-profit sector, and I guess overall trying to create a difference in my career.
You kind of did already answer, didn't you? I just like hearing you talk.
Thank you.
You know? Look, I think, guys, one of the key points that I always come back to when I meet ICMS graduates is you all seem like you've got your shit together. Now, I don't know if you do, but you really do. Like, you seem like well organised, you seem like really well spoken. Can you talk a little bit about, I think the difference has to be the networking, because all ICMS graduates seem to be really good at like networking. You seem to know each other, you are all connected, usually active on social media. So can you talk a little bit about how you guys network and how you've been able to continue to network to be able to get these positions quite early in your life?
I think networking is so important. And I think everyone sort of hears the saying, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I kind of laughed at that for a little while because I didn't really get it. I kind of thought it was just something people say who knew a lot of people. But it is super important. And I think at ICMS we are so lucky that you are in classes with people who are not just in your subject. Like, I've got, majority of my friends are actually from accounting or events, and I only know, a couple of people from marketing. So I think it's super important while you're at ICMS. Obviously, the lecturers are super, super close to you. So I'm quite good friends with my lecturers now, quite good friends with obviously the staff at ICMS from having worked here. But I actually found my current job through ICMS, like networking on social media. My first account manager actually studied at ICMS about 4 years before I did. So I think it's super important. And obviously, when you're working in the industry, I'm in sales. So it's kind of like, I have to. I'm a professional butt kiss, it's just what I do. But I think it's super important to get to know everyone that you're in a room with. No one is ever not going to want to speak to you. And if they are, then they're probably not the right person to speak to anyway. I think it's super important. Put your name out there. Obviously, social media's a huge game now. Like LinkedIn, it's super, super important. it's hard as a 21-year-old, to put yourself out there on LinkedIn, but I think in the corporate world and professional world now, it's kind of just something you have to do.
Asking you guys, because I'm not exactly sure, is there a push within ICMS to create a LinkedIn account? Because I obviously everyone has Instagram but I notice there is a lot of ICMS students that create one when they start here. Is there some kind of push by ICMS, or is it just a organic thing that happens with students? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a two-prong approach. I think it builds up very organically. I think people who attend ICMS are ones that are very career conscious, and in order for them to, I guess, develop their career, they're actively thinking about their network. And a lot of people just self-sign up for LinkedIn, like I did when I started ICMS. With that said, though, ICMS are really big on pushing for networking outside of just the campus experience. So I think even at one point during my studies, lecturers were saying to me, hey, you're graduating in a year. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, get started on it now. And I guess to kind of bounce off what Michaela was saying, a big factor of, I guess, the networking element that ICMS presents is not necessarily just internally at ICMS, but it's also who you connect with when you're out on your placement. So I'll tell a very quick story just to get it out of the way, just so you can hear how networking can really take you forward. So when I was doing one of my internships, I was with a company called Travel Zoo, and I was there for 9 months during my placement. Afterwards, I kept really good contact with my head of sales at the time, and her career developed from there. And from there, she moved to the head of sales and marketing for Accor, and is currently for the 3 properties around Accor Stadium. A year later, last year, she reached out to me asking if I wanted a job. If it wasn't for her, she actually got me through the door for a graduate role. And I went through all the interview processes, and I was actually offered a formal role in a graduate position for Accor for the 3 properties across Accor Stadium. Unfortunately, at the time, I got another offer, and currently here where I'm standing now. But I guess just the summary of that, I guess, story there is to really emphasise your network, because it could be just that one boss who likes you, who keeps you in mind for a role that comes up later down the line. And if you get to a point where people are reaching out to you for work, that's when I think you know that your network is truly successful, and to keep pushing it from there. So finish off there.
Yeah, no, thank you. And Callum, I mean, you use social media for your job essentially. So were you an outgoing person beforehand? What has led you down this path?
Yeah, I mean, I actually got a bit of a hot take on the word. I don't know. I don't really like the word networking, so to speak. I think people like to work with people. Fundamentally, it's what I've learned this year in starting my own business. Like you have a great website, you can have a great brand name, great portfolio, but at the end of the day, you're sitting on Google Meets and Zooms with another person on the other end. And I think networking is something that's okay to some degree, but I think it's more just building relationships over time. Like I had maybe a quick story. Last December, I came back. I was in Ukraine actually for a little bit of work last year, and came back from that in December, and had this couple of weeks where I was like, man, I got to start kind of churning out a few more clients. I went to one of those pump up business guys that do those seminars. I was like, oh, I'll go to that thing's on. I won't tell you his name, but I went to his thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I actually ended up talking to a guy who works in decentralized finance, and he was like, oh, I want to get more into social media and media space. And he's been a client now for pretty much 5 months, and we've done like 3 or 4 projects together, all off the back of me kind of saying, oh, I'll go and experience this and meet people. But it wasn't trying to get anything from anyone in that situation. I just thought that, I can put myself out there to some degree and kind of see what happens. But I don't really use too much of my own socials at the moment. I put a few things up there to kind of keep people on tabs. But a little trick I've done in my role is, if there's an agency that I want to do some work for, I'll update them with the current campaigns I'm doing to show activity. And I think why LinkedIn's really good is you should show activity and what's going on. Don't go pitch yourself like it's the end of the world sales time to get 10, I don't know, whatever the amount is you're trying to get to stay afloat. I think it's just stay active with what the heck you're doing.
Kind of like a weird, it's like your LinkedIn Instagram story.
Fully.
They're looking at it like, whoa, this guy's amazing. But you're not. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to use that. Thanks. I've just wrote that note down. So guys, can you tell us a little bit about, because like all your jobs are very different. and you should probably be speaking to Alana about your taxes, particularly you, Callum, because I'm not sure if you're doing this correctly.
Taxes are hard.
Yeah, they are. That's why I put you guys next to each other.
If you do say yes to ICMS, do accountancy.
Yes, exactly. But can you maybe tell us a little bit about your day-to-day, what you love doing, what you don't like doing? Because I think we kind of make working glamorous, and it's okay, but if we were all billionaires, we probably wouldn't be working, right? So let's just talk a little bit about what do you love about your job, what don't you like, and then some advice you can give to people about putting this career as the top priority in your life. Go, Alana. Here comes the accountant. Look out.
Yeah, so everyone probably thinks that accounting's just numbers and spreadsheets, end on end, it's never ending, it's long hours, it's not glamorous at all, but I'm safe to say that it's totally the opposite. Every day is different. You've got so many clients who will walk through the door and they're all from different walks of life, so you never know what they're actually going to want or what they actually, their background is, or what it will entail and what it can lead to. And once again, networking's a big thing because you never know who they know as well, who might need an accountant or something like that.
Yep.
But pretty much, every day is different, every client's different. You're not just sitting there grinding numbers all day. You're actually out talking to people, meeting to people, implementing strategies on how they can save some money, as well as what they can go and spend some money on as well to save their money in taxes.
Can you tell us your most interesting client, or you can't? It's like a doctor, you can't divulge on your patient information.
I probably can't tell you their name, but I can tell you what they do.
Tell us.
Yeah, so I think one of my most interesting clients is he's a music producer.
Okay, nice.
So he travels around the world producing music for Jimmy Barnes and people like
cool.
that. So
yeah, it's Kanye, everyone, just so you know.
Deep down.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
Nice, cool.
My one's a bit of a funny one. My title's long, Senior Client Implementation Executive, but in short, I'm basically a sales coordinator. If you to summarize it down into the easiest point, that's basically what I do. And I think radio, everyone has such a traditional point of view on radio. It's just in your car, you press it, that's it. But in actual fact, I guess that's not really what it is. We work super, super close with the talent who are on air. We also have Smooth as well, so face-to-face with the celebrities all the time. I think the biggest thing for me is we're so client-facing, and as Alana said, we've got some massive clients as well that I work across that are probably, I feel, a bit little to work across. I'm oh, that's a bit scary. But from a day-to-day perspective, it's basically, nurturing those clients and sort of selling yourself as to why are we the best? Why should you spend with us? And wanting to be sort of that first point of call they go to when they've got any questions. And I think that also goes back to the networking as well. You want to be able to stand out. Obviously, I love my job and I love the position where I am, but I always want to sort of put forward and be this is how I am as a worker. I want you to come to me first if you've got any questions, which also makes me want to put me the first thought in your mind, because then again, they do think of you. If they've got a campaign they need to turn around quickly, that's who they're coming towards. So I think that's really important in my job.
Yeah. Being memorable, which you are.
Yes.
Cool. Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you love about your job?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'm quite blessed in my current job, as I'm not necessarily working for one company as an internal event manager. I'm working as an event manager servicing a variety of different companies as my clients. So my job involves, I guess, a bit of both sales and event management. But the great thing with my role is that there's not necessarily, I guess, a week where I'm doing the same thing for the same client. I think I only calculated about a week ago in the last, 10 months I've worked just a little bit over 30 events, one of which was in South Korea only a few weeks ago, which I was managing and running on the day. Luckily to say that most of the room was English speaking, which otherwise I would have folded. But yeah, I guess the variety in work is definitely what keeps me coming back to work, knowing that I'm not necessarily coming back to do the same thing, but to do something else that I guess drives growth for another organisation, especially I guess with emphasis on those organisations in the non-for-profit sector.
Awesome. We're running out of time, and I want to ask you guys a few more things. I noticed, so guys, I got their bios, right? And it said all these amazing things about these people, and they're all overachievers, which is, tough for me to read. But one of the things that you all have in common is that you all got a scholarship at some stage in your career, unless my notes are incorrect. I hope they're not. So there's a lot of people out there that want what you got. So I thought maybe you could give some tips on how you think is the best way to get a scholarship and why you feel you got one and at what stage of your ICMS career. And I even see some people got 2 in here, which is a little greedy, but anyway. So do you want to give a bit of an example on why you think you got the scholarship and some tips for some students out there in year 12 in particular?
For sure. I think looking back, it's always easier in hindsight, but scholarships are actually the first setting where you're actually given a really intense interview. It wasn't intense, so to speak, but you've got to, I don't know. Yeah, it was actually quite intense. But even like whatever happens after that, like you get it or not, I think you're already exposing yourself to what the heck the world's out there, outside these walls, which is consistent sales to a point, relationships, networking, whatever you want to call it. But you kind of have to present yourself in business constantly. And scholarships off the bat, I think I really enjoyed doing that, and I kind of filtered into my current role now and my business. But yeah, you just got to take that leap. I remember being so nervous. Like, Mum dropped me up here and I was like freaking out. I'm like, Mum, I don't know if I'm even worthy of walking through this. And I met Anne, and she was great. And one of the directors, founders here, got a great relationship with her still as well. But you get plugged into all the different kind of groups and whatnot of this scholarship programs. And that actually, I'll be pretty honest, pretty easy to access. Like, whatever kind of works in your lane, whatever degree you're thinking, like, wow, like the touch point of actually grabbing it is so much easier than it's actually made out compared to other unis, I reckon.
Yeah, good. And that's such good advice, I think, just having a go. The outcome isn't as important. Obviously you want it, but it's going to help you anyway. So yeah, Alana, do you want to talk a bit? And you got yours online. Did you come in for or did you just stay online?
No, my mum actually did drive me down.
Oh, okay. You graced us with your presence. There you go.
Yeah,
nice.
So at that point I was moving to Sydney. But then COVID hit again and I was like, I might as well go home and do it online whilst I can, which worked out really well for me. But like Callum said, that interview, it shapes you for... That interview shapes you for what you're going to experience in the real world. Like, it's like a job interview simulation, like it's what you're going to expect. So it's really like hands-on, it's really good, and you get to meet like some great people. Like, Anne's amazing, she's lovely, and like it's just meeting people, I guess, and putting yourself out there. And no matter what the outcome is, like, you've still put yourself out there, you've still tried, and someone's going to remember that. And you never know where that may take you later on in life. Like, you might not get the scholarship you want at the time, but what's not to say a year down the track you could be presented with the same offer of the scholarship or something even better. Like, everything does happen for a reason at the end of the day.
Nice.
Yeah, and I guess, to cover a point that I guess we haven't covered yet with scholarships, is going for that scholarship interview. I guess, one, it's more attainable at ICMS than I would probably say any other university that's out there, just due to the size of ICMS and also just the number of scholarships that are out there. So to double down, if there's a scholarship you're interested in, just go for it. And I think when it comes to the scholarship interview itself, it's all about applying yourself, the same as you would in an interview. And I would definitely say the few things just to keep in mind there, whether it's a scholarship interview or an interview for a job, is never undervalue yourself. If anything, overvalue yourself. That's advice that was given to me by a lecturer here at ICMS. If you've only done one touch point of a very small thing in a bigger mechanism, you technically helped deliver that. So really emphasize those points in all the little experiences that you get, because that ultimately builds you up there. And I guess just to finish off, with approaching those scholarships, it's not failure to try to go to an interview and not succeed. Failure is not trying at all. So as I mentioned before, if you have a scholarship that's in your eyes, or if you have a job that you want to pursue and you want to get to, set yourself a goal and just push yourself out there and be that face. And as we mentioned before, network, and also just focus on what your strong skills are and emphasize those strong skills as well.
I think in terms of advice, you sort of have to put 100% of yourself in to get 100% out. I had 2 quite different scholarship experiences. So the first one, which is probably the most common, is the ICMS Professional Scholarship, which I got and interviewed for while I was in year 12 and then got for the following year. And that interview was terrifying. Like, as Callum sort of said, like, I was so nervous for it, didn't really feel prepared. But I think the biggest thing is, whilst it is an interview, it's also conversational. Like, ICMS, like, everyone wants to get to know you. They're not sort of against you. They want to find out your passions and sort of prove why you should be in that position. Then the second one, I was actually fortunate enough to be SRC president. So when I applied for my second scholarship, it was more sort of explaining like what I've done for ICMS and what I would like to continue to do. So I think obviously putting 100% of yourself into everything is super important, but also put 100% in to what you want to do. I was sort of nervous with the whole SRC thing. Like, it's a bit of a big deal, but sorry, not to, but you know, I'm super passionate about driving change and everything, and it was during COVID, and I wanted everyone to feel included and comfortable. So sort of putting myself in that position in the scholarship as well, in the interview, is super important. Like, they're mainly just to get to know you, what your passion is, and sort of how you're going to help ICMS and what you're going to look like after.
Cool. I have two more sets of questions for you guys. Now, the first one is, I think sometimes we forget, we are called the International College of Management Sydney. So we have a lot of people here from Australia, hybrid model at the end.
I pick and choose.
Pick and choose, whatever works for you. But the coolest part about this place is we have people from 52 different countries. And we actually have someone here from Chile from the Australian government, so welcome, and lovely to see you. Can you guys tell us a little bit about some friends that you've made from around the world, some different countries, and how that has helped shape you and change your perspective moving forward?
I'm happy to go first. I lived on campus for a little bit of my time. I also lived off campus, but still in ICMS accommodation. So I guess living with people from different countries, even other states like of Australia. My best friend, she's from Melbourne, and we constantly have arguments about like, is it Palmer, is it Palmy, whatever. But like, from an international perspective, you really do get to learn about a lot of different countries and cultures. And I think it's super important, particularly like in life in general, but particularly in business. You know, you never know where your next manager is going to be from or where your colleague's going to be from. So sort of being able to acknowledge that there is cultural differences in the way that we sort of process, even in like different emotions and everything, is super important. And I think getting to live with people from around the world, it's an opportunity that you don't really get, especially, you know, being in Australia, being from Australia, you know, not being able to move internationally but still sort of get that experience is super important.
I think, growing up a bit in Scotland, you don't realise how good it actually is here as well. I think the people from Europe and America come and they just bring this wild energy of like, we're at Manly Beach, we're surfing, let's go surfing after uni, or let's skip that class. I'm like, no, we can't do that, never do that. But I think never. But I think that kind of sums up it sounds a bit hippie like, but just the kind of energy and just the excitement. I think usually term 1 and 3 is when you get those big intakes of international students, and I mean, they bring like excitement to campus that isn't just your club that Chris was talking about. It's actually through classroom after weekends, and I've met up with friends in Germany after uni as well that I went to uni with. So I don't know what other unis are like, but they keep you pretty aware of how good Manly is.
Awesome. You guys want to, or your online friends, Alana?
Yeah. I was about to say, like, doing the online degree, like, towards the end of my degree, everyone slowly went back face-to-face, but because I was working full-time, studying online was the most beneficial thing for me, and being back in Foster as well. But I think it was, like, a really good, like, simulation of what it's like in the real world, like, when you're going out, getting a job. Like, you're not going to be sitting in a workplace where everyone's from Australia or everyone's first language is English. Like, once you're out in the real world, there is such a diversity of people and cultures and the way that they do things, the way life is. So I think it's just really good, like, setting that standard as well. Like, that's one thing I'm truly grateful for ICMS.
Yeah, I think in terms of my experience with international students, I was quite lucky, especially given that I started my degree before COVID, and I was a bit of a just came to campus a lot in my spare time just because I needed to study outside of home, and the ICMS library provided a good opportunity. And it was just such a fantastic experience to not only make friends who are overseas, but learning, I guess, the cultural elements of how they work as well, and not necessarily towards your career, but even just when you're at ICMS, as any student can tell you, there are a lot of group projects you're going to do for your tenure here. So I guess to figure out what their work ethic is like on a cultural level, and understanding how you can ultimately meet the goal of a group by emphasising everyone's strengths is a really fun thing to do. And I guess outside of the learnings of ICMS, just being able to look at way when you go and graduate and seeing all the friends that you've made along the way, and taking even a look at Snapchat and the Snap Maps, and seeing how many friends you have over in Europe, living it up over in their summer while we're here in our winter, is just amazing. And I guess to touch on my Seoul trip before, I had a friend who was living in Seoul while I was there for work, and I caught up with him while I was over there, and in a few weeks I'm actually heading over to the States. I think I've already lined up to meet up with about 3 friends I made at ICMS while I'm over there as well. So yeah, just even the friendship network, it's truly invaluable.
Yeah. I sometimes find having European friends in their summers depressing. If you're not there,
Yes.
you just get FOMO. But look, guys, I'm going to ask you one more question. But I just firstly want to say, on behalf of someone who works at ICMS, how very proud we are of you, because you are our product, and you are something that when we talk about ICMS, it's you. So again, thank you guys for taking the time. We really appreciate it. But I just think it's important because there's a lot of people here, particularly people in year 12 now, that are debating what to do and they don't know. You don't have to tell them to apply for ICMS, please do. But also, can you just give them some advice on your 17 or 18-year-old self, what you were thinking, and upon reflection, if you would have done anything differently, or just some advice for them right now?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I will tell them just to study ICMS because it's epic. So, I mean, there's a beach behind us, like, come on. But I think, in all honesty, skills compound over time as well. I think now, because we got so much access to what our friends are doing, if they're doing well in their career, whatnot, we can quickly compare around like salaries and excitement and what's to come. But I think very quickly, ICMS made me, have a circle of friends fundamentally that were pretty driven, but also like to have fun as well on the side. And I don't know, I think now to see where they're at, it's pretty exciting, and that drives me further. But yeah, the skills component to where I'm at currently now in my business is, I think, started from ICMS as well, wanting to figure what the heck accounting is and Xero, and marketing in general. So I think this is the only uni that actually appealed to me, even though I got into Macquarie. Oops.
Hi, Macquarie.
Yeah. And I think this one, just because I think the relational aspect for me, that was kind of, I was on the cusp. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think uni's one of those things where you can jump into it thinking, I have to do this. This is my career setup. ICMS was the one place I was like, I feel like if I even started there, I can maybe even adjust credits, move this way. And it's a small uni, and I couldn't have done a 10,000 person uni as well. So I think it was just a no-brainer personally.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess my experience was a little bit different. When I was around 17, 18, at the time, funnily enough, I actually didn't want to go to uni at all. I guess long story short, in high school I did Army cadets, and I was naturally driven to go into defence. And at the time, one of my really close mentors sat me down and said, look, Chris, you want to go to the Army, that's absolutely great, but keep in mind, you're there for 4 to 8 years, you get hired to shoot a gun, you get trained to shoot a gun, and you leave, and ultimately you can't really go into the employment industry only knowing how to shoot a gun. So take a bit of advice, take a look at what unis you can go into, do a degree such as business or something that you just naturally find yourself wanting to do, and see where it takes you. So ultimately, after my gap year, when I was 19, that's when I started looking at unis. And ultimately, I didn't want to do anything or go into a uni that I guess everyone else was going to in that sense. Everyone's heard of unis such as Macquarie, not to say it too loudly, but I think to find a uni that's unique and offers such a unique value proposition, such as being able to get industry experience and to build up your career, is just so invaluable. And ultimately, I'd like to say I'm the case study in that sense. I went into uni with a gap year and no real drive to build a career in the events industry or my broader sales background as well. And ultimately, only through studying, having access to lecturers who had those experiences in those industries, and being able to build being able to build up with mentors and through my own personal network, I've been able to get to where I am today. And I guess my only bit of advice there is don't be afraid to be curious. It's a whole big world out there, and yes, you're going to make mistakes. I promise you, everyone on this couch and chair have made mistakes in our careers. And just be open to admitting when you do wrong and wanting to do better and figuring out how to go forward from there. And that's ultimately how you build yourself up. And I'll probably say these guys broadly agree with me, unless they want to say something else now.
Yeah, look, I think when I was 17, 18, I was so driven to just be successful in whatever I did, but I just didn't know what exactly to do. And something that was shared with me the other day, which sticks by me now, even though it was the other day, but I think it was really important, was that you're not going to be successful unless you actually do what you love. So when you're in your early 20s, you're in your late teenage years, early 20s, you can make mistakes, you can try everything. So one thing that was mentioned to me is just get out there, try absolutely everything you can until you find what you love, not what you like, what you love. And then once you find what you love, that's where the success is going to come from. And I think that's really good with ICMS as well, because with the electives that are embedded in the degree, that's where you can actually try little snippets of everything. Like you can try a little bit of fashion, you can try a bit of accounting, but at the end of the day, like once you find what you love, that's when you're going to be successful.
And you found tax.
I love tax.
Oh my God, love it. It's just the best.
I think my advice to like my high school self, I was quite probably stress head. I think I liked everything to be organised, straight line. This is what I want to do. This is where I am. This is where I'm going. So I think advice to myself and obviously anyone else who's listening is don't be afraid to take risks. Everything in life that is good is challenging and it's hard work. I think when I told a few of my friends and my mentors that I was leaving ICMS to go start full-time work while I was still studying, I think everyone was a little bit worried. But I think it was a risk that I knew I had to take. You know, things don't just fall into your lap all the time. Sometimes you have to work them. Sometimes you have to put a little bit of drive and put a little bit of yourself into it. So I think don't be afraid to sort of take your risks. Realistically, everything's figure-outable is one of my sayings at the moment. So, you know...
I'm not sure if that's correct English, but I'm okay with it.
But I think, you know, put yourself out there and, you know, as Alana said, sort of find what you love and find what you're passionate for. And if you're finding that, you know, what you put yourself out there is not your end goal, is not what you want to do, like I think the world is so changing now, it's so modern, like you can just go find what you love, and if you need to, you know, choose different electives apart, like that are different from your core, like you can do that. So I think that's really important.
Great. And look, from what I think all of us have got out of this is we have 4 very unique people that have gone to the same place, all had very different experiences, but all really love the place. And I think that's important because you know, it shows the diverse range of people that ICMS have and study with us. And also just like, I don't know, you guys are really young, but man, you're very wise. So it's really great to hear from you. I've written down some notes. I'm going to be a better person after today, so thank you. So to Callum, to Alana, to Chris, and to Michaela, thank you so much, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.